Welcome in to another edition of Top Dogs here, college football edition, alongside Jeremy Kahn. I'm Mark Zinno. This is Pick Dawgz at Pick Dawgz YouTube, pickdawgz.com. Appreciate you guys joining us. Jeremy, I know that there was much celebration that you and I have reunited, like Voltron, like He-Man and She-Ra, like peanut butter and jelly.
Like lamb and tuna fish?
Maybe you like spaghetti and meatball? You're more comfortable with technology?
I'm just glad we went with Top Dogs because Mark was trying to do Bottom Dogs since he's more of a bottom. But it.
I'm more of a little spoon than a big spoon, as you know. So,
yeah. But look, it's been fun. I know you had a great Saturday, or did you have a great Sunday?
6-0 last week in college football. If you bought the plays. Jeremy, you know what happens, and it happened again last night. I don't want to talk about it, but it happened again last night. So we're not going to get into it. We're having a great college football season. We're going to keep it rolling. But you know what we're doing this week, Jeremy? We got to shrink it. We can't get 6 plays in again. After 6 weeks, you got to get some shrinkage, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
I don't have any problem with that, so that's good news.
Okay, all right. I thought you just got out of the pool. Anyway, all right, we got 5 games for you. We'll have a show best bet again. Our show best bet failed last week because Ole Miss got backdoored again.
Well, so if you got the number late because of the quarterback change, you won.
Right. Yeah. We missed we had the 7.5. We did the show because obviously we pre-tape it, but we also if you had the 3.5, you covered. If what's his face starts for Ole Miss, I think they blow them out. I don't even think it was close. So, all right, 5 games for you. Let's get it started here. Let's get it up on the board with our first play. First early game, Texas Tech against Utah. You see the numbers right up there. Jeremy, this is a 10 a.m. local start time. Now, I will say this much, okay? Line opened up at 3.5, came down to 2.5. I got to tell you, to be perfectly honest here, the spot screams Utah. I'm not going to deny that, right? Mm-hmm. And you look at Texas Tech and who they've played so far, absolute nobodies. Pine Bluff, Kent State, Oregon State is not a real Power 5 team anymore.
You didn't tell me they played PB. They had Pine Bluff? Oh, man.
They had Pine Bluff. So, and then Utah really has played UCLA, Cal Poly, and Wyoming. So these numbers are really skewed when you talk about the defenses and the offenses here. That said, going into Rice Eccles is always tough. The 10 a.m. start time is very, very weird. Here's what I would do. I want to take Utah, and especially gets under a field goal. This feels more like a wait-and-see game for me, and I would like to make a declaration as this show continues. It's not the last time we'll see these two teams meet because I think these two teams are the best 2 teams in the Big 12, and we will see them again in the Big 12 championship game. But a lot of these numbers are fugazi. With the early start time, first half under is what I always go with. That to me feels like the way to play this.
I love that you're saying that because, again, I look for these spots of things that are out of the ordinary. And, we've talked about it. People saying going West Coast to East Coast, it really doesn't matter. I think it matters a ton in college. I do think it matters, but it matters a ton in college when you're playing a noon game. It
matters a ton.
Yeah.
They're not adult bodies. They're not used to it. It matters huge.
So starting at 10 o'clock time just seems so weird, but I like both of these teams. But with Texas Tech and Baron Mooten, however you want to put it, Morton. I can't even say the guy's name.
Rootness.
I mean, he looks really, really, really good. So I watched a little interview with him when he was in all of his pads and doing the interview. They must have got him right before the game or something because it was kind of strange to see it. But I think he's supremely talented. The only problem I see with this game is I just think Utah's a lot better. I mean, I think the team's better. I love Devin Dampier. He can beat you with his feet. He can beat you with his arm. Yeah, well, yeah. Right, don't jinx him yet because I like Utah here, and I'm going to be on him. And I love the fact that it got under a field goal.
Yes,
I just think they're the better team.
It's very hard to resist, but generally, I feel like this is wait and see because look, if Texas Tech's defense is for real, again, they played the Sisters of the Poor in PB. As in not peanut butter, as in Pine Bluff. We'll find out, but I know this much from years past. This is like a Kyle Whittingham special. We're going into Rice Eccles in Utah. Now, if this game was at night, I'd be more excited for Utah, but I think the early start time really is an equalizing factor for both teams. It's hard to know which team is going to come out better prepared, but one team I think this starts out definitively slow, which is why, and the first half under is 23.5. Which they're making you pay for it, right? They're not going to give you 24.5 because, it's kind of a weird number. all things considered, for a game that, as we're looking at here, is a high total of 58. That's a low premium. We're not talking 26, right? 26 to 26 is 52. I mean, we should be even a higher number than that. But the first half number at 23.5 feels very, very, very tough.
I think it's a good call. It looks odd, right? If you were just looking at it from the outset, you're going, well, wait a minute. Like, you would understand, for example, if you bet a favorite in the first half. Well, I'll give you a perfect example because we'll talk about it later. There's a team favored by 10. First half is 7.5, right? Or 6.5. But like, some people would look at that and go, well, why isn't it 5? There's a big reason why. And I think the reason you're seeing that low total is because of that start time. And again, whether it's basketball, football, you pick the sport. When you're doing something out of the ordinary, especially when it comes to time restraint, whether it's going across to a different country to play, you're playing in Ireland, you're playing a 10 a.m. game. I remember when Cal came to Maryland, and Cal was far and away better than Maryland. And Javid Best was throwing up in the back of the end zone because it like he had like double concussion syndrome or something. It was a weird game, and Maryland beat their ass.
Jeremy, one of the games on my card last week was Stanford getting 12.5 at Boston College. Why? Because Boston, I told you about it. They had to go to Michigan State. They go back home. They go all the way out to California, and they crapped the bed. I mean, they had a bunch of bad. Stanford should have never won that game. I thought they would stay within the number, but they should have never won that game. Regardless, to your point, the situations matter and the travel matters. All right, so let's move on here to our next game. Auburn and Oklahoma, the Jackson Arnold Bowl, if you will. Jackson Arnold, the starting quarterback for Auburn. Hefty number here. Sooners laying 6.5. You see the total there. When I first saw this, Jeremy, the first thought in my head was over. Right? Anything at 48.5 or less, give me 7 touchdowns, gets me to 49. I don't see either one of these defenses really slowing each other down. But this is where it gets tough because, Auburn did play Baylor, and Michigan did play Oklahoma did play Michigan. The other cupcakes that they played don't really matter. But that said, this is one of these things where Auburn's already played a road game, right? They played the opener at Baylor, so it's not their first trip away from home. So you have to take that into account. How good is Auburn's defense? I don't really know. They gave up 24 to Baylor, and I don't think Baylor played particularly well in that game.
No, Baylor started to put it together late, and then they had some drives that had just stalled. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting that from Auburn. Both of these teams ranked now. This is the one of all the games we talked about. This is the one I kept going back and forth on, where, just full disclosure, I like to say when I'm on something and I'm not on it, I don't think I'll be betting this game on Saturday. Yeah. I love the fact that, you've got a little revenge on the mind here. I think it may be too many points, but the questions I have, and we're going to talk about them in a little bit, how good is Michigan actually? Oklahoma beat them, and they were ahead the entire game and kind of handled it. But I don't know how good Oklahoma really is, because they've always – I feel like in these spots, they've always let me down, where it's like, hey, you're playing another good team, and here we are.
And remember, we're going to talk about this situation here in a moment, but the Michigan game was an 18-year-old starting freshman quarterback for Michigan going on the road for his first road game, which, again, we'll talk about coming up here when we do Michigan and Nebraska. But, that was not a favorable spot here. I see points. Like, you put a gun to my head, I would lean Auburn and take the points, because a touchdown feels like a lot here for two ranked teams. The home field advantage in Norman is pretty significant. This is what time this game starts at 3:30. It's a 3:30 game on ABC. SEC, right? I forgot Oklahoma's back in the SEC again, or to begin with. But yeah, this should be a fun game to watch. Mateer has really set the world on fire. The guy's got almost 1,000 passing yards ready through 3 games. So how much can Auburn slow him down? I don't know the answer to that. I genuinely thought Michigan's defense was pretty good, but turns out Michigan's defense might not be good.
Yeah, and again, I think some of it might be the spot there too. But with Oklahoma, they beat Illinois State, Temple, and Michigan. So it's like, okay, how much do we know about them? And they did what they were supposed to do against the inferior opponents. But I think it's kind of the point you were making. Like, we're seeing a lot of teams that might be 3-0 and played 3 cupcake games, right? They play 3 teams they should beat every single time they play them. Doesn't always work out that way. But some people will be looking at it going, okay, but how good are you really? And these are the types of matchups you want to see, where I think it does kind of help you develop where you want to go maybe for the rest of the year and looking at these teams, because it'll tell me a lot more. But I do think, again, if you're forcing me to pick, I think I'm taking Auburn plus the points.
Yeah, I think that's the general lead. I would have a lot more faith in the over in this game, despite the fact that the numbers come down a hair when you look at it from the 48.5 to 47.5. And let me just check as we're recording this. So, I got to kind of do these things a couple of days ahead of time to make our lives a little bit easier. I can't find the game right now. Why not? Can I find the game? 3:30. Come on, Mark. Here
Which game are you looking for? Auburn and Oklahoma?
Auburn, Oklahoma. Yeah, I just want to see if the number is still where it was. It ruined this whole show for everybody watching.
It's right here. It's 6 and what number is it? 6.5 and 47.5 is what.
Yeah, it was 48.5 earlier in the week. Mm-hmm. I remember staring at it going, I want to keep it under 49 for the sake of easily getting 7 touchdowns. So, yeah, maybe a little bit of pause there. All right, let's move on to the next game on our card here. Illinois and Indiana. Now, let's just say this much, and you just sort of hinted upon it. I wanted to bring this up before we started talking, because I do this all the time. This week and next week, you're going to be in situations where you're watching teams situationally play their first road game, and then they're going to be playing their first road conference road game. Those are situations that matter, right?
Yeah, our free play is going to fall in line with that, right?
Right. This is Indiana right here. Illinois right here, going out on the road for their first road conference game of the year against an opponent who has played very, very well. I have been looking for a spot to fade Illinois, and I kind of circled this on the calendar a couple of weeks ago. I think I'm actually going to pass on fading Illinois in this spot and wait till next week when they play USC. But how much do you trust Indiana here, Jeremy? It's a big number. It opened up at 4.5. It's been bought up. I'm seeing 6s out there now. And I'm sitting here going, what? Really? Like Indiana? We have this much faith in Indiana over Illinois?
So what is it? Cignetti, I think, is the coach's name at Indiana. And all he's done is won everywhere he went. James Madison, he was killing there. Comes in last year, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, is this Indiana team good? The weird thing about like this game is even talking about Illinois being at home for 3 games, they returned a ton of starters. So they have visions of grandeur this year of maybe surprising everyone in the Big Ten. I don't know if that's what's going to happen. And frankly, I don't even know if they should be a ranked team. But with all that being said, returning players being undefeated, this is where it falls in line. But I like Indiana at home here. I just feel like their coach has created this culture there, especially at home. That's where I would be leaning. I'd be taking Indiana here.
And again, I made this graphic last night, and the line's already 6, and there are 6.5 out there. So as we record up Thursday, it's jumping up. Some money coming in on the over as well, as this total now sits at 52.5. But money is coming in on the over. And that may be the way to look here, Jeremy, to be honest with you. I don't love Luke Altmaier as a quarterback at all. Mm-hmm. I mean, I like you better as a quarterback than Luke Altmaier.
And I throw like Uncle Rico.
Yes, there you go.
But I can get that ball over the mountains. I can do that. Could have won states.
That's why I trust you. But it just feels like I don't think defenses. I think both of these teams. It's crazy to say a Brett Bielema team wants to play up tempo, but that's the way they've been. I mean, granted, again, some sisters of the ports, 52, 45, and 38 the last 3 weeks offensively.
It's not like Indiana's great defensively. I think they can get stops, but like they're not.
And again, Indiana's played ODU, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State. Like that's great if it's basketball. In football, not so much.
Yeah, and look, I hear you on that too, because that's why I think this is such an interesting week of figuring out who these teams are. I guess maybe you could look more at Illinois and say, I think I know who they are because you go back to last year and listen to them or look at them, and then you see, hey, they're returning all these starters, so they should only get better, right? Maybe that is the case. I just like the spot for Indiana. I don't like the fact that we're seeing the spread jumping up as quickly as it is, but I think I got on that earlier in the week and I got the best number, but we shall see once game day hits.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is another one that I kind of had a beat on earlier, and now I said, you know what? Let me sit back, wait and see. And part of me hopes that Illinois pulls out the road win, so when they return home next week against USC, they're even an even bigger favorite, and I think that's where Bielema stumbles a little bit. So, all right, let's move on to the next game on the card: Minnesota, Nebraska. We
Or
see
Michigan. Michigan.
Sorry, Michigan, Nebraska. Michigan and Nebraska. As this is going to be a spot here, as I just mentioned, you have a Blair Underwood, right? Bryce Underwood, sorry, not Blair. Bryce Underwood, 18-year-old guy making his first road start in the Big Ten. Nebraska, a home game here, afternoon, national television slate. I'm on Nebraska. I don't. This is not a good spot for Michigan, and I tell you what, I don't think this Michigan defense is any good. I'm not sure it's as good as we thought it was going to be.
I try to be as transparent and open as possible, and I don't mind saying it if people are watching the program. This is my favorite play on Saturday. I mean, you talk about spots, Nebraska getting Michigan, and I think it's a down Michigan team, so yes. That's another hat tip there. Like, okay.
Sherrod Moore is not coaching in this game. He's still suspended.
Yeah, it's Biff Poggi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I talked a little bit about him on the podcast yesterday as he was a St. Francis booster here in Baltimore, and just basically put all those kids up at townhomes, all the good football players that St. Francis has. But, he's coming from Charlotte where that was a failed experiment. But again, it's not even about the coach. I just think talent-wise in the spot, like Nebraska has been dying for a game like this, and you've got Patrick Mahomes Jr. there, not talent-wise, just how he wants to look in Raiola. I love this spot for Nebraska to get it done. And I do like the coaching in Nebraska. I feel like we've always talked about their defense in years past and how good they'd be, but you're now starting to see the offense kind of turn it out. Yeah, they had a close one earlier this year. Was at Cincinnati, I believe, but they won.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a great spot for them. I love Nebraska to get the win and the cover.
You only back Dylan Raiola at home. And what is your thoughts on him being a Patrick Mahomes doppelganger? Would it just look alike? It's kind of annoying. I would go with a different look if I was him.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird. And he's saying it's not that, but it's like it looks exactly like it. Like
yes.
Like your hair, the way you walk.
Pal.
I mean, come on, dude.
Not that, honestly. Something different.
Really? Who does that? It's unbelievable, though. Like, being in that spotlight, he was getting super hyped up last year, and everybody was talking about him, and then Nebraska kind of went down. But now, like his mannerisms, the warm up,
aneurysms or mannerisms,
both of them. He's got both of them.
Is he going to have an aneurysm with his mannerism?
This is aneurysm. What are you talking about? This is what Nintendo's going to do. Is he's going to correct my improper English all week?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there might be some smart people watching. I don't know if there are. Sorry, everybody, if you are smart, but I'm just assuming that they know.
Sorry,
this is not a word.
I'm sorry that I missed it in our first game that we talked about, the two Utes.
Utes, that's true. They got more than two Utes on that squad. Yeah. They got about 92 Utes.
So what do you think? Because I don't think this is a good Michigan team.
No, I don't. I think their defense is suspect. I think this is a Nebraska slam spot here. I wrote it down. I mean, I do this thing every week. I write down a whole long list of teams and things that I want to put on a long list. And I just, as the week goes along, as I do my research, I start narrow it down. And I had Nebraska sitting there on my list the entire time. Situationally, I think it's a great spot for him. I don't like the idea of an 18-year-old freshman quarterback going into a hostile environment. In their first
very hostile environment,
in their first conference road start. This is a quarterback who didn't play well against New Mexico, didn't play well against Oklahoma. Did they beat Central Michigan 63-3? Yeah, but this is a much different opponent that he's playing. So if you want to say it took him, 3 weeks to get his legs on, okay, I'm here for that argument, but he's not playing Central Michigan this week. And so I think this is a Nebraska team that's primed for this spot. This is a game. This is like a statement game for Matt Rule to go out and beat another ranked Big Ten. Does he beat a ranked Big Ten opponent yet?
Has he?
Let me look.
I think he's got to have one, right?
He might have had one last year.
because they had the opportunity when they were home last year.
They lost to Illinois, and they
Yeah,
lost to Indiana, and they lost to Ohio State, and you go back to 23.
They screwed the pooch.
They lost to Colorado, they lost to Michigan, they lost to Iowa. So this would be his first Big Ten win against a ranked opponent.
And it's a perfect spot to get him at home in this environment. And as we talked about, what we believe to be a down Michigan team. And that being a down Michigan team doesn't mean that they're going to be bad. It's just the expectations are you're at the top of the conference and fighting with Ohio State, USC, whoever it may be.
This may be a 3-loss Michigan team, which
Penn State,
which would be a real problem. The other thing I'll add too about Dylan Raiola, look, as long as he takes care of the ball, which he's done pretty well at home his entire time in Lincoln, I think they're going to be okay. But you and I both agree that this is a Nebraska slam spot here. So let's grab one more game here before we get you guys to our best bet. Michigan State heading out to USC. Look at the size of that number, Jeremy. Have you ever seen anything that big before?
No, definitely. I don't see nothing big. Maybe my waistline. I don't know. But this game too, it's another one of those games where I was on the Purdue USC under. And you kind of get worried about those. Like last week, I'm looking at the game going, all right, is this really the right spot? Because USC can score in bunches. And it just didn't happen. They did enough to kind of throttle it and get away with the win. And they won handily. But this is a spot too where I don't know what Michigan State is. Could USC have a look ahead game to next week? Possibly. I mean, if you buy into that sort of thing. But for me, I think I'm going to look at the under again here at 55.5. And maybe Michigan State's the right side plus all those points, but I think the under's a good play because I don't trust this Michigan State offense to do what they're supposed to.
Well, yeah, Aiden Chili's is erratic at best.
Chili's, please.
Yeah, I mean, while Chili's are good in certain foods, Aiden Chili's is not good for your offense. It's just not very consistent. That's the problem, and it leads to a lot of situations, particularly on third downs, where this team ends up getting off the field and shouldn't be off the field. The BC game was sort of telling, right, for Michigan State. It's BC for crying out loud. This is not like a legitimate program that should be hanging with a Big Ten program, and they did. And they almost lost the game to BC. So I think Michigan State's offense will have a little bit of problems here. Why? Because USC has done a great job this year revamping this defense. And really, clamping down on the offensive side. And here's what I would tell you, Jeremy. And when you say the under, here's what gives me pause. Last year, USC did not win a single game outside the Pacific time zone. This win was their first one since joining the Big Ten outside the Pacific time zone last week at Purdue. But they only scored 33 points. At home, I like them to score. On the road, I don't think they're going to do as well. That's a trend I'm going to follow all year long. When they head out, like next week when they go out to Illinois, I don't know if the game will be as high scoring as we expect it to be, but I'll use this game as an interesting litmus test for that. So I don't want to lay this big number. Is there a world where, again, we can cut this game in half, Jeremy, and we end up taking USC in the first half if we're going to get like a 9.5? Let me just double check and see what the number is. By the way, look ahead line next week. I just saw it for Illinois and USC is Illinois plus 1.5. See, I can get really involved in that. That kind of turns me on a little bit. Not in the way you do, but different.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Let me just find the first half line here for USC and Michigan State, because whenever I get big numbers, that's my first inkling is to cut the game in half and see if I can figure out a way for that to work. It's 10.5. It's not even amenable. If it was 9.5, or if you can find an adjusted line at 9.5, I'd be more open to it, thinking they could be up 17-7 at half, 24-14 at half, whatever it may be. But you're asking for a lot there. So
I feel like this game, and I don't know about you, I feel like it has that opportunity almost like the USC Purdue game, where I'm not talking about the score, but USC gets ahead. They've done enough, and they're sitting there just going through the motions in the second half because they know they're not losing the game, getting ready for next week, which is a bigger game. So I'm not saying that's exactly what happens, but I could see it happening. And that's why I said lean to the under. Full disclosure, I more than likely won't be betting this game.
Yeah, same
it wasn't something I was on, but it's an interesting game to talk about.
I mean, late night DJing special for a little catch up if you want,
Yeah.
But that's the way to look at it. So That'll do it for our 5 games here on the card. Now let's get to our best bet for the show. We did not get our best bet right last time. We hope to do better this time around. And look, let's do this way. Let's get to Maryland and Wisconsin. Game tips off. What the hell sport are we talking about? Game kicks off 12 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Wisconsin time. And, I have a bunch of friends in the industry and a bunch of people who told me that they wanted to take Maryland in this game. And I literally said out loud to them, you absolutely cannot bet Maryland here. And they said, why? And I said, because of the Big Ten road record and the Big Ten record of Mike Locksley. Mike Locksley, as a head coach of Maryland in the Big Ten, Jeremy, 16-40 overall in Big Ten play, 8-19 in Big Ten road games. I got more. 3 of those 8 wins have come against freaking Rutgers in New Jersey, which was an hour-and-a-half drive from where Maryland plays. And then 2 of those other road wins were during the COVID year in 2020 when the Big Ten only played 5 games with incomplete rosters. In other words, Mike Locksley cannot win on the road in the Big Ten. So
all right, here's a couple things for you. We have the radio station I work for. We're home of the Terps still, Mark.
Terps.
Mike Locksley Coach Locksley joins the show every Tuesday, and we talk to him.
Your show?
Yeah.
Did you tell him he stinks in the Big Ten?
I did not, but I think he knows that. Like, he's very upfront and forward about how things are going. And the one thing he said about his team, they haven't had a road game yet. This is still a young quarterback with Malik, the local kid. He's really good. But even in his first game, he started off slow. They got a defensive touchdown. It's almost like it settled him down, and then they kind of got into it. He's very worried about their depth. And I look at this as the first road game, and I think it's a hammer spot for Wisconsin. But as we talked about it and you looked at the first half.
Offense is so bad.
I know. But there's a reason why they're favored by 10 points. It's a very tough place to play, and I think a lot of the things you pointed out play into this.
Jeremy, Wisconsin's offense was like me during college. Can't score.
Oh. You couldn't score in college? Come on, man. You had a couple Friday night specials, a few slump busters. You did.
Nope, not in college.
I've seen some of them.
That was post-college. That was when you and I worked together. So, long time ago. But anyway, the point simply is, humor aside, I hate this Wisconsin. I mean, this is a Wisconsin offense that only scored 17 points against Miami of Ohio. Who, oh, by the way, I love Miami of Ohio this week against UNLV.
Yeah.
UNLV coming all the way to the East Coast to play in that slop fest called the MAC. Anyway, back to this game. We both like the first half here. We're going to lay 6.5 with Wisconsin in the first half. Why? Because I say it all the time, Jeremy, the Pickdawgz audience is new to it. If they ain't covering early, they probably ain't covering late. If they ain't scoring early, they probably ain't scoring late. And that, I think that philosophy holds truer in college sports than it does in professional. Like sometimes I use it in the NFL and the NBA, but for the most part in college, kids are emotional. When they get down and they stay down and they don't get up because they're not being paid to get up. So the point simply is that Wisconsin has to get an early lead here because look, put it this way. If Luke Fickell struggles in this game or even loses it, there's going to be a lot of groans from the Wisconsin boosters. Lots of them about the way this team has started and the way they've performed since Fickell took over. So he can't afford to have his first Big Ten conference game not go well. Wisconsin's defense is good enough here to lock Maryland down. You talked everything about the young quarterback Maryland has. Wisconsin minus 6.5, first half best bet.
I love it.
So, all right. Again, you can get all of our plays at each of our premium page. 3-day packages, 7-day packages, guys. I keep telling you, those are the best things to go get. Do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button. Smash that like button below on this. Leave some comments below. Tell us how great we are and how much better Jeremy looks like than he was when he looked like John Daly's long-lost cousin.
Mark needs that. Mark needs the kindness. Yeah, he needs to be complimented.
I need validation in the comments.
Yeah,
that what I'm doing is worth everybody's time, and that you still love me, Jeremy, after all these years.
Always and forever.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Again, don't be sure to check out the Top Dogs version of the NFL that comes out as well. So hit the subscribe button. You'll be alerted for that content as well. For Jeremy Kahn, Mark Zeno, thanks for watching Top Dogs. Good luck. Go cash some tickets this weekend.